At 10 o'clock with the BBC News, I'm Al Tansley. Rishi Sunak has said he's not considering delaying a ban on the sale of new petrol and diesel cars from 2030 to 2035, despite more than 40 Conservative MPs requesting he pushes it back. The Prime Minister has announced a review of low-traffic neighbourhoods. Labour has accused the government of hypocrisy, saying the scheme was introduced by the Tories. These people in Newcastle live in an LTN and have mixed views on its success.
It's sort of adding 10 minutes onto your journey and you sort of think to yourself, is this actually doing any good for the environment?
It's definitely quieter down the roads, and to be honest, the traffic down the main road is not even that bad, so I don't really see what the problem is.
Tell me about the clean air sitting in those queues of cars, pumping out fumes and using up extra fuel.
Theresa May's former Chief of Staff Nick Timothy has been selected to fight Matt Hancock's seat at the next general election. Mr Hancock, the former Health Secretary, is currently an independent MP for West Suffolk after having the Conservative whip removed in November when he agreed to appear on the ITV show I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. 3 men have been arrested on suspicion of murder as police search for a man thought to have fallen into the River Wye in Hereford yesterday morning. Detectives say the man, believed to be in his 20s, has not yet been located. The arrests were made after new information about an altercation before the incident. An archaeological dig at Exeter Cathedral has unexpectedly uncovered the remains of a crypt from its Norman predecessor. The excavations are taking place before the installation of a new underfloor heating system. John Allen is the cathedral's archaeologist. He says it's not the only thing they've found.
A pair of tombs of graves has been discovered on the centre line of the cathedral, and the tops of their fills have been emptied. And we believe these are the 2 places where 2 of the bishops who were buried in the old Norman church were reinterred in the Gothic cathedral.
Dame Judi Dench says she's determined to work as much as she can, although she can no longer see on film sets because of her deteriorating eyesight. The 88-year-old actor says she's finding alternative ways of learning scripts. Today was the final day of competition at this year's British Transplant Games in Coventry. Flora King from Oxford is one of those who's taken part. She competed in the javelin and netball events.
I was diagnosed with chronic kidney disease when I was about 10. I had a kidney transplant about 18 months after I was diagnosed, and my mum and dad were both tested, and luckily my dad was a match, so I received his kidney. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here today, so he is amazing.
And in Formula 1, the championship leader Max Verstappen has won the Belgian Grand Prix. He beat his teammate Sergio Perez into second place. His victory makes Red Bull the first team to win the opening 12 races of a season. That's the latest. It's 3 minutes past 10.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
How do?
How do? Yeah, now my voice is broke, I don't do that anymore. Good evening. How are you?
BBC Radio Manchester.
I'm Allan Beswick. This is the Allan Beswick Late Night Phone-In. We're here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're more than welcome to join us. And if you wish to do precisely that, then the telephone number, and it is only a phone-in. We don't want any other gubbins. Just talk phone calls. 0800 218 2255. Subject matter is yours. I don't mind. I'll talk about absolutely anything, with the same degree of making it up as we go along. Any road up. Apparently, according to some of today's newspapers anyway, apparently the EU is not too fussy about letting Brits wander about the place as if they own it, or even part of it. Henceforth, if you want to travel to that mysterious home of Johnny Foreigner that we decided to leave, you might have to be fingerprinted. As I often say, and said often to Brexiteers, be careful what you wish for. If you vote for out, and then you get out, you might be getting treated as if you're no longer in. And it looks like that's come to pass. One good thing to come out of the trans palaver is that even the least educated dummy now knows what a pronoun is. I know, if we could also get them to learn about verbs, including far too many journalists, if the truth be told. The late Fanny Yates, my old English teacher, would be delighted. Fanny Yates, it's a funny name. She was our only female teacher. I don't know what her other name was. The Prime Minister's mother is so vegetarian she carries her own spoon everywhere for fear that being given a spoon, being given a spoon might have been used for meat. So it could have gone through 19 dishwashers, but before that it was doing mulligatawny. And so she doesn't want it because it may have a little bit of animal still on it. That's keen, to say the least. Photos of Mick Jagger were all over the newspapers this morning, showing how he partied to the early hours, celebrating his 80th birthday. Today he was shown at the Test match. He loves cricket. He's quite the survivor, but we got it all up, haven't we? He's not that pretty, is he? Pretty or not, though, the joint last night was rocking. They were all right, weren't they? Rolling Stones. Still are. Knocking on a bit. Some dead. But nonetheless, mighty fine band. How long will they keep going for? Do you think they'll go until Mick Jagger's dead? Well, that sounds awfully morbid. But he's going to die with all that. You do wonder, don't you? I mean, Elton John has just finished his last ever world tour. We think, because he's done that a couple of times. But well, I don't think he's about to start another, is he? You know, he's plenty on his plate, according to Mr. Furnish, his husband. So I don't think he's coming back. And the Stones are halfway through quite a big tour. Well, they're not going to go on forever, are they? It can't be the money. They're all loaded. They've all got stacks of cash. Anyway, who cares? Yeah, quite. You and I, no. 0800 218 2255 to join us. We're here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and the subject's yours. How do Balladay?
Good evening. Hold on a minute. Let me turn the radio off. I want to talk about two things. I'll go for the first one because it's one a bit hard.
Whichever you go for will be the first.
Okay. Have you heard of something called SpaceTime?
Yeah, but I've not a clue what it is.
Okay. Let me try and explain. This is how a scientist explains it. Say there's a world and they call it Flatland. Now in Flatland, there's only 2 dimensions, length and breadth. So everybody knows on the Flatland is that's all. So they see each other, the circle, the triangle, the rectangle, the square. They know each other. So somebody or something comes from a third dimension that's like us and looks down on Flatland and said, oh, that's all. There are only 2 dimensions down there. So he sees the circle and says, hi, circle. Circle doesn't know because circle's never looked up. He thinks the thing's coming from inside the cloud, but he can't see anything. So this flying object now thinks, oh, he's ignoring me, but I'll show him something. So he goes down, picks up the circle, closes him up, and the circle now sees everything in three dimensions. Then he goes back down. Then he meets up with them and says, oh, I saw something. He said, what did you see? He said, well, I saw the world, but I can't explain it because I've seen something in another dimension which we ain't got, and basically there's no way I can explain it. So that feel like with us because we're in a 3-dimension, length, breadth, and length, height, and breadth. So that's all we know. But there's
we have time. That's another dimension.
Yeah, that's it. So we have time. That's the other dimension because time is what will tell us that the universe is expanding and is ever expanding and it's going to continue expanding. So, but we could not.
No one can say it's going to continue expanding. We don't know.
Well, no, because they've also said that in the universe, the classical equations show that there's not enough mass in the universe to account for its size. So there's a write-off there somehow. Now, the second one I wanted to talk about was, about
that didn't make any sense, don't you?
Yeah, I read a big book on it, and basically it didn't make no sense either.
Well, so that's as long as we agree on that. So what's the second thing then, Bella?
You've heard of woke and people getting cancelled. I mean, where do we go when we say people like Nigel Farage and others have to have their bank account or even their internet access cancelled because they've said something that we disagree with? And I'm thinking, where will it end? Because if we start by saying, oh, yeah, Nigel Farage, we don't like what he said, so we cancel him. So I remember a gentleman back in the day, Nigel Griffin, the BPN guy, people said,
I think you mean BNP, and I don't think his name was Nigel, but go on.
Yeah, so we cancel him because we don't like what he talks about. Then where do we end? Because if you go on the internet, you see a lot of people you don't agree with, and basically sometimes you say, oh, we want them all cancelled. But once you start cancelling people now go underground and probably meet up with people they would never really associate with, and they could now do things that are going to be very documentary or very bad.
So is your conclusion from that we must, assuming we're in the business of trade, we must trade with everybody for fear of driving them to trade or to be customers of horrible, nasty people?
I'm saying we should give them a space to say what they want to say, even our controversy, even if we disagree with it, then we can challenge them in the open and say, Well, what you're saying is just crap. For instance, I've got a friend. I always talk to him. When I come to my ideas, I talk to him. And he would say to me, "Bly, did you know you're talking out of your ass?" On a regular basis. And I'll say, "Okay, let's talk about it." That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. But the moment we say, "You know what? See, people like you, we got to cancel you. You can't have internet access." Then we don't know what that person's going to be doing next, and he might be doing.
So, are you suggesting, for example, if Adolf Hitler or his equivalent came into being presently, that he should be given airtime? Or should he be cancelled?
I am saying that.
You are saying that. So you're saying that every opinion is a valid opinion, even if it eventually incites a whole nation to turn into racist murderers.
Unfortunately, that's what I'm saying. But
okay.
we've got nothing different.
That's fine.
We've got nothing different, because the moment we stop letting these people talk, they'll go underground and they'll now organise.
But if they go underground, they will eventually have to come above ground. And do we then give them speech? I mean, if Hitler had been driven underground, would he have taken over the nation?
I think he might have, because he was not stupid, because he didn't believe in democracy, and he used democracy to take over Germany anyway.
Indeed, but that wasn't the question. The question was much more prosaic than that. If you say everybody is entitled to their view, and remember I put to you, even if it incites thousands to turn, indeed a whole nation, to turn into racist murderers, you say we must allow them to do that.
Unfortunately, I am, because if I say no...
So as far as you're concerned, there is absolutely nothing at all, ever, that should be curtailed?
No, because we can talk to them and say, well, look, you've just said a load of crap and basically it's not going to stand. We can say that.
But you can say that, and others may take an entirely different view and believe them rather than you.
Well, true, because, I mean, look what they did to Donald Trump, one of the most powerful guys in the world. They got him cancelled of all these sites, and basically... And
then the next thing is a proprietor of an organisation, whether it be a bank or whether it be an internet page, is that person required to trade with people that they, for their own reasons, choose not to trade with?
I think free will is another thing we got to protect anyway. So if somebody
free will is your ability to think about whatever you wish. Remember, my question now went on to trade. Should a bank be required to trade with people that they believe are beyond the pale?
Not really, no.
Well, which do you want? Do you want freedom, or do you want them to have the power to decide?
I want freedom.
So you do want the banks. You don't want the banks to have the power to decide who they will trade with.
No.
You can't have both.
No, I don't want the banks to have the power to say who they want to trade with.
So the banks should be required. So the banks and other businesses should be required to trade with anybody, no matter how abhorrent they believe them to be.
To a certain extent.
You can't have to a certain extent, because as soon as you put an extent on freedom, you've forfeited freedom.
Exactly.
But you were, Valaday, you were arguing an argument of,
I was arguing
of no control. So as soon as you say there is no control, there isn't any. And then you start to say, well, to a certain extent, well, that's control.
That's control. So we can't say to a certain extent. We're going to say
but Valaday, it's no good you arguing to me that you can't say to a certain extent, because I'm pointing out to you that you just said it.
I'll learn on French.
Come back when you're not contradicting yourself, Valaday. How do, Ray?
Hi, Alan. I'd like to talk about, is COVID still around? I don't know if it's still there, because I think the media's kept it quiet. I'm not too sure.
Well, as a very, 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 very tiny part of the media, let me tell you, they haven't, and the answer to your question is yes.
They're still talking about that, because I remember when it was mentioned in 2020. I think people panicked, like people got paranoid and they stayed in.
I don't know whether you would say that they got paranoid. Some would say they got wise.
Yeah, because I remember people like washing their hands, like, you know what I mean, like all the time. It's just, and people were like scared to like, give each other a hug, or if that was the case.
Well, that is true. People were advised not to do such things, and some were afraid so to do. So, what are you suggesting? That they should not have been, and they should have just carried on as they were?
No, I'm not saying that. It's just because, like, I remember, like, it was like there was like a virus, like in the 1970s, where what was it called? It was called like rabies or something like that in the 1970s. So I don't know whether people.
Well, I don't think it was rabies, was it, in the 1970s? There been lots of viruses, but I don't remember any serious measures being taken in connection with rabies. But there may have been others.
It was just because it's like because I've seen it like on that public information film, because they were talking about it. So I don't know whether people were like wise about that one, and I'm not too sure, or people like were panicking about that.
I don't think people were panicking, because rabies wasn't endemic, which means entirely within the society, and COVID was said to be endemic, and therefore it necessitated very serious action. That action was taken. Whether you or others think it should have been is, to a little bit of, to some extent, not that important. That's what did happen, and yes, COVID is still around.
It's that's what I mean. But I think they've got the vaccine. So, but that's what I mean.
The answer to your question, is it still around? Is yes. Is it as, for want of a better expression, as voracious as it was? No, because as you rightly say, they've got a vaccine that A, diminishes its effect, and B, reduces its, if you like, infectability.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's but that's what I mean. It's people were saying like it was contracted by, well, someone, they were saying like as conspiracy saying like someone was eating a bat or something like that. I don't know whether that was true or not.
It's true that was one of the things that was said to have caused it. Whether that was the cause, I don't know.
That's the thing. It's I don't blame people for being wise about it, but I just like I said, in the 1970s, I don't know whether there was a vaccine for that virus, rabies. I don't know whether there was a virus for that one.
I don't know. I think there is a vaccine for rabies, but it wasn't distributed generally. It's more of a treatment rather than a protection against.
I mean, I'd say one thing is that I don't think people back then, when in the 1970s, when rabies was around, and I don't think people would have survived it.
Rabies is still around.
But I don't know whether people would have survived it, if you know what I mean.
Well, I know what words mean. I'm not sure what you mean with them in that order. Rabies was around, still around. We have very strict controls about animals coming in and out of the UK to help protect against rabies, and so far it's been quite useful. Well, rabies is fairly common in the wildlife of other European countries, and I can remember articles saying rabies is not far from the shore of the Channel and is therefore on its way here, but we have very strict controls over that. One of the advantages of being an island is that you can control such things considerably more effectively than if you're not an island.
That's the thing, because this is the thing, when someone contracts it, because I've heard it was like like people from like the South Asian countries, they've like contracted it one time.
It's been all over the world at some stage. Even people in Britain have had rabies. They've usually got it somewhere else and come back with it rather than caught it here.
But that's what I mean. It's like, this is the thing, because you were saying that like in the 1970s, because I watched it on public information film, they said it was contracted by dogs or something like that. I don't know whether that was true or not.
Well, dogs are the most common conveyor of the virus, if indeed it is a virus. I think it is. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. But dogs are the most frequent because they are the animals that interact with humans the most.
And see, when we heard that from when it was contracted by dogs, see, we as like British people, we're like we're like dog lovers, if you know what I mean. So I don't. So.
But I say again, one of the great benefits of being an island is that our pet dog population and our wild population hasn't really got rabies as a basis. I'm told there's quite a lot of rabies in bats. I've no idea whether that's true or not, but that's what I'm told. But we don't interact with bats generally.
No, we don't, and that's like, well, obviously they're like obviously at night, so we don't really see them of a night really.
Well, that's the only time we see them, if truth be told. But rabies at the moment in this country is not a problem.
That's what I mean. It was because that's what I mean. It's like it's very deadly, that virus, because I think like, I don't know whether the side effects that it has, like people are feared of water.
That is one of the symptoms, yes.
And that's the thing. It's but I don't know whether it's like if it's ever been spread into America. I don't know whether that's been spread into the North America. I'm not too sure.
I haven't the faintest idea.
This is what you've heard, but it's good that
I haven't heard anything about it. I have no idea, as I say, whether rabies is common, if you like, in the United States.
Well, yeah, hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't get spread to Britain, because we'd all have to stay in and go on lockdown. Unfortunately.
I don't know what we'd do if we got a situation where it was becoming common in the United Kingdom, but you may be right. We shall hopefully never find out. Have a good night, Ray. How do Alan?
Oh, are you, Alan? All right.
I'm very well, thank you.
Yeah, I just thought I'd talk about the next general election.
Okay.
Because a lot of people think that it's all put and done. Labour have won it, and there's never been the next government. But I don't think it is all done.
Well, you're probably right. I don't think the Labour Party think it's all done any more than the Tory Party does.
No, but there's a lot of people out there what think it's already cut and dry, don't they? They think that the Tories are toast, as somebody put it on the other day on BBC News. And
well, if the election was called today, then it is said by all the great psephologists who know this kind of thing that the Tories would lose hands down. And as the three by-elections just recently seem to indicate, the Tories wouldn't have a prayer if the election was called today. But it's not going to be called today. There's got a lot going to happen between here and there. And as Harold Wilson once said, a week is a long time in politics. How do, Malcolm?
How do, yes. Talking about ticket office closures for railways. I've just got the Metro in front of me, and it says that rail bosses and ministers have been spooked by the threat of legal action from disability campaigners, and 5 Metro mayors, including Andy Burnham in Greater Manchester and Steve Rotherham in London, So it would appear they've had to extend the consultation, which was going to end, I think, on July the 26th, something like that. And it's now going on for over another month. So that's a good sign to me. I think that the government are getting cold feet. I think that they're not going to close ticket offices, or not many. And that's a good, from my point of view, as a rail passenger, because it's useful to have a ticket office when you, for example, if you suppose you bought your ticket on a smartphone, and suppose you lose your smartphone, which does happen, or indeed if your smartphone has been stolen from you, which happens quite a lot apparently in London. What are you supposed to do? I mean, you might have your bank card in your pocket, which hopefully you've not been cancelled, you're not Nigel Farage, so you know your bank works.
Just so we can keep a track of it, if somebody buys a ticket presently and loses that, what happens?
Well, what happens is you go to the ticket office if you are away, let's say you're in London or Birmingham or wherever, and you buy another ticket. Because you can do that, because the ticket office is open for a large part of the day to do it. Whereas if you don't have any ticket offices, what are you supposed to do? You're in a foreign town or...
Well, there are lots of railway stations presently. I used to use one fairly frequently that didn't have a ticket office.
Yeah, that's true. But those that don't have a ticket office... I
live in a village now that hasn't got a ticket office.
So what you do is you get on the train and you buy a ticket off the guard if there is one. That's right, what you say. But those are stations that don't have barriers on them. That's the point. You know, I know the type of small train station
I was merely dealing with the scenario you explained, where you lose your phone or your ticket. What do? And you made it sound like there would be nothing you would do. You just run round in a circle shouting, "Heli Mary, the sky's falling in." But it turns out you don't, because we already have a situation where there are some places that do not have a ticket office, and you've just explained to me very elucidly how one would deal with that matter. The example
but the point
you
is,
quoted. So it is already possible to deal with the scenario you created that seemed to be suggesting that was the end of the world for some reason.
No, I'm just explaining to you there are two types of stations.
I'm sure there are more than two types.
Say to me, Alan, that you don't use the train very often, whereas I do.
I don't really care how many kinds of station there are. You gave an we as if de facto this would be a major problem, and we already have. It's not my fault you're clumsy. We already have the situation where there are stations that don't have a ticket office, and people seem to manage.
Yeah, but the point is, understand this, there are barriers. At Piccadilly, which I'm going to tomorrow, there are barriers to get through. To get through, you need a ticket.
You do.
Now, if you haven't got a ticket, you can't get on that train to London, or as in my case, Sheffield, tomorrow.
Indeed. So do you think it is the case that the current plan is to close all ticket offices? Yes or no?
Well, they are talking.
Yes or no? Yes or no? Which?
I'll answer the question in regard to the station that I'm familiar with, which is...
No, don't bother. We're talking about the closure of stations. We're not talking about one particular station. I'll ask you again. Do you hold the view that the current position is a plan to close every ticket office? Yes or no?
That, according to what they say, the answer is no.
Yes or,
Piccadilly
the answer is
is
no.
a huge
Fine.
station,
It
and
doesn't
yet
matter.
They're talking about closing that.
Well, if they do, you'll have to find, and they will have to find a way of accessing the train. And if they put the barriers and keep the barriers and there's no ticket office, then fine.
I'll walk to Sheffield. That's the answer, isn't it? Obviously.
It'll do you good. You try to do it on a Saturday and Sunday night. How do Ted?
All right, Alan.
You know your Open University, Alan, that was on at 6 o'clock in the morning. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
Well, I used to watch it. I used to get up early. I was 14 at the time. I used to get up and watch it. Now, on the TV, they showed just two machines that were separated from each other from a good distance. Like, and you know what they done, Alan? They transported a bit of dust from one machine to another machine. And that was on Open University. And I had an experience in Liverpool, in town, where I came out the club. The next step, I was at the flat door of the house that my mates lived in. Now, overnight.
And were you wearing a kipper tie? Because they all did on the Open University. How do Sheik?
I'm okay, my dear friend Allan. I like to talk about the body of soul. Body of soul is every soul of body of soul, God make it. Jesus Christ soul, God make it. His body, God Messenger Muhammad said in the Quran, in my blood, Jesus Christ reborn again. My blood, I'm Shafiq. My blood and body belong to be God Messenger Muhammad's grandson, Hussein blood on my body. My soul, God made it. If I dead, then my body left. So all Christian believe Jesus Christ body and Jesus Christ God of Son. Yeah, God of Son, Jesus Christ God of Son. Everybody soul make it God. That's why every soul father is a God, not body father. Body father is a dad and mom. So rule of law. Main thing is the climate change, my friend. Look at this Ukraine war. It is good. NATO knew I'm Shafiq, is belong to the Hussein blood. I swear to God, I write to NATO 1 year ago. After Russia aggression to Ukraine, 100,000 soldiers ready, and Joe Biden say tomorrow maybe Putin declare war. Then Putin declare war with British Empire. He indicate to his soldiers to Buckingham Palace. He playing chess game to Ukraine. It is good, no good. We need to be united. Soldier no job is not fighting each other. These soldiers fighting each other, it is gone 2005, 27 January. Because Jesus Christ declared the war with all army in this world. He said the army, if you not believe Muhammad, break the God house in the Saudi Arabia. We all Muslims not say anything to you. Then what to do all army? Who is a devil person? The whole army come together. They kill the devil person. British Royal Court of Justice. They knew, my friend. God Messenger knew he's a liar. God Messenger knew he's a mental. God Messenger knew he's afraid anything. God Messenger knew, believe, Hindu believe no, Buddhist believe no, Sikh believe no, Christian believe no, Muslim believe no, God Messenger no. Because of him, we are still in this year.
Right, now we've reached that stage we often reach with you, Shafiq, and that is, I'm fed up now, but thank you. 0800 218 2255. Shafiq mentioned, I've forgotten who he said made the soul. Well, I don't know who made my soul, to be perfectly honest, but I know a cobbler that mended it once. How do Marie?
Hello, Alan. I'm sorry for the sound of my voice being a bit different tonight. I'm actually fighting off a throat infection and stuff. What I wanted to say was again in support of our ticket office staff is the ticket office staff provide a lot of services for people.
For example?
Not always.
Apart from selling tickets, what else do they do?
Well, actually, they do quite a lot because
well, that's what I said. What else?
Okay, they give access to toilets at stations. They are there to help individuals and families access trains, because not all stations are fully accessible to everybody in the community, i.e. prams or wheelchairs or visually impaired or
How does the ticket office person know when a train's arriving with a parent and 3 children, 2 suitcases and a pushchair, and they want to disembark at that station? How does a ticket office person know to stop selling tickets to the people who want to get onto that train, lock the ticket office so that people don't stay on the morning, and stand on the relevant platform, wait for the train arrive, get those people that he never knew existed off the train, and then go back and open the ticket office and sell tickets to people for a train that's just left? How does a ticket office person know that there's somebody on the train that needs help?
Well, quite often, believe it or not, it's with the train guards that we've fought as well to keep, because the train guards, and especially in Merseyside, where we have got, we've got a bit of a reputation for a lot of things, but personal safety and everything is paramount. And, I do believe that Steve Rotherham and Auntie Burnham are both in collaboration for the North West to improve public services. And, they're not doing so bad, to be honest, because Andy,
without giving them a bit of free publicity and a puff for how good or bad they might be, let's get back to ticket offices. You said the ticket office. You said the ticket office personnel give lots of assistance and lots of help beyond selling tickets and giving advice on what time the trains will be. You came up with one example. I asked you a question. You didn't really answer it, but let's move on.
No,
what other services do they give?
I can give you another example, Alan. Today
that's why I'm asking.
Today I went into the station, right, and there was a notice on the door of the public convenience and saying, basically the toilet is working, you just need, to access it, there's an intercom, and also I went to the ticket office window, right, and then the man, it happened to be a man today, that let me in to use our facility. Now, I know that at this particular station, right, we have just, in the relevant months, I've had an accessible lift involved and everything, and we have been fighting for that facility for many, many years. And of course, with everything else, right, as we know, but yes, train companies were heavily subsidised over COVID. I was one of the people on the front line during COVID. I was emergency health, social care, support, for families to give them respite. I've done an awful lot of support to a lot of people online and everything.
Well done. Shall we get back to the ticket office now?
Well, yeah, you can get back to the ticket office.
Excellent. Yeah. That's what you wanted to talk about, and that's what you were talking about.
Which one do you think I should talk about then?
Well, I don't care. You were telling me a few moments ago about the ticket office. The next thing we heard that you were then giving a plug to 2 elected mayors. Coming back to the ticket office, you then took me off in the direction of how good you were to others during lockdown and other things. So can we get back to what it is that you think is worth saving, the service that's worth saving, related to the ticket office?
Yeah. Ticket office personnel, right, which, they do a number of roles. As I say, they are not just there to sell tickets.
And that's when I asked you, for example.
They give advice, they can give directions, they can, help somebody who has visual impairment to get to the right platform and everything, because they may be travelling independently. Yet they may have a white cane, but they might not know exactly which platform to which direction the trains might go in, and also they may not know exactly which steps or which side is left. Well, they might know their right and their left, but it's it can depend on a whole number of things. And to be honest, I was actually, thanked today for complimenting the ticket staff, because sometimes, like everybody else, they can be the forgotten ones in the industry. So, there you go. I'll let you get back to some of the other callers.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll do Sam.
Hi, Alan. I'm going to have to give you a little bit of numbers before the conversation. Like, I could be giving you loads of numbers, but I'll just stick to this bit. So, Earth, the atmosphere has 78%. 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 0.9% carbon dioxide. So at the moment, the carbon dioxide level in our planet is quite high. So because we're cutting out all the trees and global warming. But at some point, if we get to the good point where we're not cutting as much trees, we're planting trees, and we're using cleaner energy, cleaner source of energy, and then if the carbon dioxide level starts dropping by a big amount, and then we will, because trees need carbon dioxide, we will probably need to increase carbon dioxide. So we probably need to start burning stuff or start driving diesel cars. But that's in the future. We bring the carbon dioxide levels down. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay. So if we get to the good place where we're not cutting trees, we're using clean energy, and the Earth temperatures start dropping, and we're in a good place. But then we can't have too much clean energy because we need some carbon dioxide in our atmosphere. So we get to a really good place and we continue going in a good place, we will end up needing carbon dioxide. But if we have loads of trees and we're using super clean energy and the Earth is in a perfect place, we will start needing, and then after a good while, like a few hundred years, we will start needing to drive diesel cars and stuff just to bring the level, just to balance the levels of it. At the moment, the balance is volatile.
So what you're saying is we need to be very, very careful, because in a century's time we might have gone too far.
No, it's just a paradox. It's just a paradox thought process, really. I mean, we're nowhere near.
It's not really a paradox, is it? It's not really a paradox. It's an interesting, pointless line. Really.
Yeah. I mean, at the moment, we're nowhere near it. Like we couldn't.
We've already established that your time scale is somewhere in the vicinity of 100 years, and everybody then thought, well, I'm not that bothered then.
No, maybe a few hundred years, because we need at least 100 years.
So it's even further away than we were thinking just a few moments ago. So we can. So you're still of the view, though, that it might be such that at some point we'll have gone too far and we'll have to start recreating the circumstance where we put carbon dioxide into the atmosphere.
I don't think we've started in a global sense of cleaning the atmosphere.
Well, I know, but we're dealing with your if you like, intellectual graph, where you say when eventually we stop producing carbon dioxide, we'll have then gone too far, and we'll have to start producing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
We'll just keep some cows on standby and make sure they burp enough. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. Don't think I'm going to keep my diesel car because Sam said in 100 years' time we're going to be glad of them. I mean, keep your diesel car by all means, but don't keep it for that reason, because Sam's barking, as he just found out. How do Ryan?
Hi, Alan. I just wanted to speak about what the people talk about with COVID before. I work in healthcare system, and COVID obviously was around a long time before the pandemic, and it's still going to be around for a long time after. I've got a lot of family members that were queuing up for to have the vaccination and things like that because they were scared during the pandemic. However, obviously working in the healthcare sector, we sort of know how important flu is, and a lot of my family now won't have the flu jab because I don't think the government put enough emphasis on how dangerous flu is as well.
Okay, you put it on then. You give us the. I mean, statistics is harsh, but how dangerous is influenza?
Well, I haven't got the actual statistics, but I know it's the biggest killer.
So how dangerous is influenza?
It's the biggest killing respiratory disease in England. It wasn't for 2 years while we had COVID, but anybody that's vulnerable, it's a pathway to not a very nice place.
But I mean, the trouble with flu is that people, they feel a little scratch in their throat and a minor headache, and they go, "Oh God, I've got flu." Well, we all know they haven't. If they're very unfortunate, they've got the common cold. Flu is comparatively rare. I mean, I'm not saying it's not massively rare, but it's comparatively rare. But there are people who have what you might call symptoms that exist in the foothills of flu that are a cold. So how often do you think is it that a person who says I've got flu and treats themselves for flu actually has it?
Probably not very, but it's still just as contagious as any other airborne virus.
Well, yeah, but for it to be contagious, or for the contagion to travel, first of all, you have to have the person that has it, and they're few and far between, as we've just agreed, and then you have to have the people who are, if you like, suspect to get it. Proximity, contact, and all the rest of it. It is airborne, but some people are in the vicinity of somebody with flu and they don't get it. So, go on.
So just like COVID, some younger people can be carriers without feeling the effects of it.
Absolutely.
I work in healthcare and I work with older people, so we're all advised on behalf of our residents to get our flu vaccinations, which about 95% of our staff do. But even I sort of explain to my friends, like, you go and see your grandparents often, like, you may have it. If you think you've got a bit of a cold, or I'll go around to see my grandma anyway, which, if you've had your vaccination, it'll help stop the spread of it to your loved ones and your elderly family members and stuff.
So those who are eligible for the free flu vaccine, and they will be approached by their general practitioner practice, that's a bloody awful statement, isn't it? They'll be approached by their GP's office, surgery or what have you. They'll be approached and offered it, and your point, Ryan, we don't want to put too many words in your mouth, is if you're offered it, have it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if at a stage now, if I change career with my grandparents and stuff, I'd probably still pay I think it's about 15 quid to actually go to a pharmacy and pay for it yourself. I'd probably still do that just to be sure, and just to protect vulnerable people that I see, not just in work as well.
All right, good on you. Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you. Good advice for all. If you are asked, if you're offered a free, because it's not just the elderly, I mean, certain people that the GP is aware of their physical condition. If you're offered a flu vaccine, Ryan says you should take it. How do Sylvia?
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I wondered if you could give us some advice, please.
Well, let's see.
Right, well, my granddaughter bought her first property a couple of months ago, and the panel that divides the two properties was down, but she was assured that it was being taken care of. Anyway, nothing's happened.
Let me just stop you a second. Did you say the panel? By that, do you mean in the garden?
Well, it's the backyard, yes.
Well, backyard, but it's not within. It's not inside the house, as it were, the flat or what have you.
No.
Right.
So
and you went on to say that she was assured it would be repaired before she moved in.
Oh no, not before she moved in. She was assured it was being dealt with. That was the terminology.
Okay.
Now, the property next door is a rented one,
Mm-hmm.
So when she went to have a word with the lady that lives in the house, she gave her the phone number of the landlady. So my granddaughter phoned the landlady, and she said that it wasn't on her land anyway, but my granddaughter said, well, I've got the deeds here, it is on your land.
Right.
So
What your granddaughter needs to do, your granddaughter's just bought the property, you say there were certain assurances given, and in the deal, the solicitor that was handling the purchase for your daughter, were they a party? Did they say, oh, we've been assured it's going to be mended?
Well, she didn't...
No, let me stop you, Sylvia, and bully you a little bit. I'm asking you whether the solicitor who handled the purchase for your daughter, whether that solicitor told your daughter that fence will be mended by the vendor.
No, I don't think so.
Right.
No.
Well, the problem with purchasing properties is that the only thing that matters is what's in writing. Now, she needs, first of all, to talk to the solicitor that handled the conveyance, because there will be certain assurances and possible insurances that if the property is not up to the standard that it was said to be conveyed in, the person who sold it could be liable to do the work.
Yeah, the previous owners, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because if, however, it was bought in that condition, fully inspected, and no mention was made of it, then the course I've just directed you on is futile.
Right.
But normally what would happen, if the property you're buying is not in perfect condition, what usually happens is the solicitor acting for you says to the other lot, get that sorted or we don't buy, or get that sorted or we knock something off the price, or get that sorted or give us an insurance policy that if anything does go wonky, it'll be paid out. So you need to sort that out first. Now, once that's been sorted out, you also, or your daughter also, granddaughter also needs to talk to the solicitor about where the boundary actually is. The neighbour, the owner of the neighbouring property, the landlord, the owner of the neighbouring property is saying, not my fence, not my land, I don't care. Now, if it is his land, that's a different kettle of fish, but where is the boundary? As soon as you get into boundary disputes, you've just kissed goodbye to 10,000 quid. Unless you can get a sensible dealing. So I would say, first of all, talk to the solicitor that did the conveyance. When you say she was told that would be mended, who told her that?
Well, I presume the previous owner.
So you don't know is the answer, because I presume is you don't know.
Yes.
So you need to talk to your granddaughter and find out who told her that fence would be mended.
Yes. And what if it was the previous owner? Because obviously they've gone.
Well, they've gone, but the money hasn't. The money's somewhere. Usually if there's a fault and the purchaser mentions it to the lawyer will deal with it. Because one of the questions, when you buy or sell a property, there's a whole list of questions. There's about at least 50 of them, and it talks about the state of repair and all the rest of it, and it might be mentioned in that. There again, it might not. The person might have lied. And if the person said, no, the fences are all in good working order, well, that's a lie, because clearly they're not. So that's actionable. So the first port of call, I would say, is with the solicitor who conveyed the property to your daughter, your granddaughter.
Yeah. Yes.
Because arguing with the tenant will get nowhere. They're not going to spend a bean on it. She's already tried to get the owner of the neighbouring property to deal with it. He or she is a landlord and doesn't give a stuff. They're getting the rent. What do they care? So it needs to go back to the sale to find out what the position was there. Because it is possible that the solicitor can write to the vendor's solicitor and say, this is what has happened, this is the situation, the forms that were filled in and signed by your client, the vendor, are not true.
I see. Yes, I understand what you're saying.
All right? So talk to the solicitor, and if the solicitor, there's nothing you can do, then you're in ping-pong with the owner of the neighbouring property, and frankly, that doesn't offer much joy.
Well, she won't even return a call. She's blocked me now.
Well, I mean, the next stage would be... I mean, the trouble is, you read in the paper frequently of people who've got an argument over an edge, just the edge between the properties, and you find out that they've both gone to solicitors, and one said this, and one said that, and one said this, and one said that, and it's £100 a letter every time, the solicitors. Next thing you know, they've both spent £10,000, and quite frankly, neither of them are happy. Boundary disputes.
Yeah, they can't afford it. They're a young couple.
Well, I know they can't, and perhaps the trouble with getting legal redress is it doesn't come cheap.
No,
so,
I realise that.
Right, so what she needs first of all is to go back to the solicitor and say, look, this fence, we were assured it would be mended, it hasn't been mended. Now, somewhere in the pile of papers that your granddaughter has from her solicitor will be the questions and answers that the vendor, the person selling the property to her, will have signed and said this is the truth. Yeah?
Yes.
So they will say, what is the state of the roof? It's in good working order. What is the state of the electrics? They were checked 5 years ago. What is the state of blah, blah, blah? What is the state of the fences? There's no problem with the fences. Well, if there is, and they said there wasn't, that's a lie, and that's something that your solicitor may get back in touch with their solicitor and say, oi, sort this, or...
Yes.
Yeah? So that's the starting point. And I don't promise any resolution, I just say that's the starting point. All right, Sylvia?
No, but...
My pleasure. I'll do Rebecca.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. What do you want to talk about, Rebecca?
I just wanted to briefly talk about your caller before who wondered if COVID was still happening.
Yeah.
I was diagnosed, sorry, I'm a bit emotional, with breast cancer last year.
Oh dear.
I've had a mastectomy. I've had 20 weeks of chemotherapy, 15 sessions of radiotherapy, and I'm through it, and it's good. And this week, I've got COVID.
Oh, dear God.
And I've never felt so ill.
It's ghastly, isn't it?
Oh, it's been awful. Absolutely awful. I've done all that. And I nearly phoned an ambulance yesterday because I didn't know what to do with myself. I've never felt so ill. So it absolutely is still out there, and we've done everything right through the last 12 months to make sure that none of us became ill, and up until this last week we've managed to swear it, and I've just felt absolutely dreadful. I just think people think it's gone away, and it hasn't, and it's just been an awful week.
I bet. Rebecca, because of all the various treatments, the horrendous treatments you've had to endure, were you able to have the COVID vaccine? Because sometimes they'd say you're not well enough to have it.
Yeah, I've had, I think, 4 vaccinations.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, they made
So
sure I had them before I started chemo, and
right, yeah. So that at least you've got that element of protection, which doesn't seem, from where you're sitting right now, doesn't seem like it's doing much good. But I suppose what we can say is, without that, you might have been in even worse, feeling worse right now.
Could have been worse, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, I suppose you're sick of people saying to you it could have been worse one way or another, aren't you? But I mean, it is. Thank you for telling your experience, because it hasn't gone away. We know it hasn't gone away, and people like you are evidence that it hasn't gone away.
I had to go to the Clatterbridge Cancer Centre in Liverpool yesterday for a septic screen because I couldn't get my temperature down, and I'd have to say they were absolutely amazing.
They always are.
Absolutely outstanding care. But she said to me, people think it's gone, and it hasn't. It hasn't gone away, and people are just carrying on like it's gone, and it hasn't.
Well, one of the problems of journalism, and I'm not defending my colleagues or attacking them, but one of the problems of journalism is you would hope, no, you wouldn't, the layperson might think, well, COVID's still here, this should have something in the paper and on the radio and telly say, don't forget COVID's still here. But of course they don't. It's the caravan game, COVID is not beaten, it's wounded severely and it's still limping along, and the caravan moves on and people say, oh, well, it's gone then. And like you rightly say, no, it hasn't. And it's still making people like you very, very ill, and it's even, hopefully not people like you, but it's even taking lives still.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know what one says to that other than it's scary. Because it is an absolutely debilitating condition, without a doubt. Yeah, I know, you wouldn't think I did this for a living, would you? Good to talk to you, Rebecca. Thank you for telling us, because Ryan asked and we now know the answer. Have a good night and good luck. 0800 218 2255. How do Eileen?
Hiya. I came on to say, I'm a bit obnoxious in how I speak. And I wanted to say to decent people everywhere, I know you're angry with me because it comes out quite poor sometimes. And to you, I am apologetic about that. But
well, you don't need to be. What do you want to talk about tonight? We don't go back on old scores on this programme. What do you want to talk about tonight?
I just wanted to say, but to the subcultures involved that like dishing this stuff, but don't like getting it dished back. I am not apologetic to you at all.
Okay, well, good night then. How do Anthony?
Oh, good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
I'll just briefly say, I wasn't going to talk about it, but COVID-19, I mean, I had it 2 months ago, and though I feel okay with myself now and everything, it has left me quite weak, and it's I know that from I live about a mile away from the main shopping centre here, and I can walk into town okay. When I get shopping, we tend to get shopping every 3 days. You've got 2 heavy shopping bags. I've either got to get a lift off a family member or a friend, or get a taxi. I just don't have the physical strength at the moment to. We could get it better, but I don't have the physical strength to walk back with the 2 bags of heavy shopping. But I just sort of mentioned that, so I'm not surprised. It's not. Certainly isn't a pleasant thing to have. I won't wish it on anybody. Anyway, right. The main thing I was ringing up about was UFOs.
Okay.
There was a congressional hearing, I think, in the Senate yesterday, and it was the first time they were discussing UFOs seriously. And one of the witnesses they had was a senior military guy, I think in the US Air Force, and he said US pilots see UFOs, flying saucers.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Oh, what did he say?
Well, he didn't say flying saucers.
Oh yes, I know, but
well, you say you know, and yet you took the trouble to say it, knowing that it didn't. That's not what he said.
Yes, I know. I can't remember the terminology they used.
Well, you don't have to invent one and say he said people see flying saucers all the time.
Yeah, but UFOs, which is the old terminology.
No, that's not the old terminology for a flying saucer. That is something that is flying. It is an object, and they don't know what it is. Hence, unidentified flying object.
Oh yes, okay. But one of the most interesting things this guy said was he said that the Pentagon has a few alien spacecraft.
Yes, he did.
Some of them that have crashed, and some of the dead bodies of the pilots of these craft in storage, and they're examining them, and I guess reverse engineering the spacecraft as best as they can, which I've heard before. I heard that off a guy called Nick Pope, who used to work for the Ministry of Defence, and he was in the department specialising in people who did see strange aerial phenomena, and he, basically looked after photographs and interviewed the witnesses, and that was his job for many years. But he appears on the media quite a lot now, and even though he was a skeptic at first, he said they definitely exist, and I went through about 120 photographs alone, and plus very convincing witness sightings, of policemen and people like that. And he said, even saw the beings which were inside, and I just thought it was.
I read quite a bit of it as well, and thought that's interesting.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's all.
As long as they don't beam me up and doing experiments on me, I don't really care.
I think no matter how far away they come from, they're still going to be fussy.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. How do Danny?
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, some of the railway. I'm on some of the railways, but initially, I was going to say, Brash Rebecca, who was talking early on to you. Brasher, Rebecca.
Indeed.
Who was talking, so what I want to talk about
is the railway.
Yeah, what I say after that, what I'm going to say after that. With some of the ticket officers, but what about your opinion? When the government were thinking about taking the guards off the trains, what's your opinion?
I don't have one.
So you don't have one? Okay. Well, can I share my opinion then?
Of course you can.
Okay. Listeners and listeners, with the guards taking on the trains, a few of my family went on a journey a couple of days ago on the train. Not to say where he was, but he went on the train, and there was a few lunatics on the train, and it was. I mean, if I had been there, it would have been a different story. But the same, scenario was, he shouted, and the guard came in and stopped these people from doing what they were doing in a silly, bad way. So he stopped it, all that. But say, for instance, Alan, there was no guard, and it's just a train driver. He's got a job to do. Who's going to be there? It's like a security job. Who's going to be there? Who's going to be there?
I mean, to be honest, we've had on this programme other stories about train guards who've refused to get involved. I'm not getting my head kicked in. I'm only here to take money.
I can't blame them. I can't blame them one iota for that.
Indeed, neither can I. But the point there is that the guards are not necessarily there to act as some kind of police officer on the train.
Couldn't agree more. Should you think they should have
if you've booked a seat and somebody's sat in it and you call the guard, you don't get involved.
So do you think they should have some sort of security, proper security on this train?
I don't know. If they do, who's going to pay for it? And the answer's the
Well, when you say who's going to pay for it, would anyone get the trains if they're not there?
Well, they're not there at the moment, and everyone's getting them.
Well, they're getting them for necessities, but...
Danny, when you say if they haven't got security on the train, who's going to travel on them? They haven't, and the trains are quite busy.
I couldn't agree more. So basically,
so the answer to your question is the same as it is now.
So they're taking a chance when they get on the train because it can be very precarious if there's any lunatics on.
Yes, Daddy, they are taking a chance, the same as if you walk down the street, the same as if you do anything. You are always taking a chance. The question is, how big a chance are you taking, and does the existence of the guard have any bearing on the ratio of that chance?
Okay, yeah, I agree. What would you like? Would you like to see yourself any sort of security on that?
I don't know. We've managed this far without. What do you mean by security?
Well, to help people if they're on the train, you know, it could be elderly people.
What
would you like to do?
Well, that's not security, helping elderly people get on and off. That's not security.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anyone who's vulnerable on the train. If there's silly people on the train and they need help, what's going to happen?
I don't know. What happens now?
Well, you don't know. I don't know. I'm saying it's wrong. You need security. Why do you have security?
Danny, when you say they need security, what do you mean? Do you mean that there should be a specific security force with uniforms and all the rest of it? Perhaps a railway police officer, because there is a thing called British Railway Police or British Transport Police, a police officer on every... I'm not saying this, you're not agreeing with me, I'm asking you what you're saying. Is that what you're saying when you say security?
What I'm saying is what you just mentioned, a proper security service, what you just mentioned.
On every train?
The trains.
On every train?
Yes, well, not on every train, no. It's a long journey.
Who decides which ones? Oh, long journeys, right. So every train, how long a journey do you think? From between cities, or does it have to go between two cities?
Well, I would say, basically, there should be some form of that on every train, really.
Right.
Yeah, on every train should be some form of it.
So the current plan is to get rid of the guards, and you're saying that's fine. Let's just put security on every train. I
never said it was fine. I said it's wrong to get rid of the guards.
Well, indeed, but you're also saying that instead of getting rid of the guards, what we should be doing is putting security on.
I would have both.
You'd have both. So as the railway seeks to cut costs, you're about, well, both. So that's kind of doubling, isn't it?
Well, that's why I was asking your opinion. If
I haven't got one.
Travelled on the train. Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, if you travelled on the train yourself with your wife.
Yes, of course I have.
And there was
whether I've travelled with my wife or not is
anyone in general close to you, would you like that type of situation?
Would I like there to be
that type of situation where there's lunatics on? What would you do?
Would I like it? No, I wouldn't like it. Would I want my ticket price to increase by quite a lot of money so that every train can have a...
is that more important than your safety and the people you love?
Hang on a minute. I'm just looking if I can find the end of that sentence I was halfway through. No, it's not here. Oh, we can't carry on without it. Good night. How do Katie?
Oh, hello, Alan. Hi. I rung up to tell you about an elopement in our family, because you recently had a call from a lady, a lovely call. I think she was in Deganwy, and she'd eloped from Deganwy station, and it had turned out very well. But we had an elopement in our family, and it also turned out very well. It was my mother's sister, my aunt. She was at school in Blackburn, and a very attractive girl, and she was in the 6th form, and a Polish officer who was stationed in Blackburn after the war, close to the school, close to the high school, sort of took a shine to her, and they went walking in, I think it's Corporation Park in Blackburn, and they made their plans very, very quietly and very secretly. She was only sort of 18, 19, 20, and they literally ran away. They just ran away to Liverpool and got a boat from Liverpool to, I think, New York. I went to Chicago, and there was a huge Polish community in Chicago, huge Polish community, and she was welcomed there. She took instruction to become a Catholic. She learnt Polish, and she was only very young. She was 20 at this stage, and they had a very, very successful marriage in Chicago with 4 children, a successful business, but she never saw her father again, and she didn't see her mother again for about 25 years. She came back to Blackburn in 1975, but she was very, very strong too.
Was the reason that she didn't see her parents because of the elopement, or was it just, people didn't travel back into to the United States in those days?
It was a bit of both. One of the reasons that she did run away, it wasn't just because of her feelings for this Polish officer. She'd been born very late into the marriage of her parents. They were in their mid-40s, and her father had always said, "You won't get married. Your duty is to look after us in our old age." And she'd been sort of brainwashed at this, and she was really, really scared that was going to be all that life had to offer. He was a very, very powerful man. Anyway, when she disappeared to Chicago, he said that her name must never be mentioned again, and she was dead as far as he was concerned, which just shows how little he really loved her. But Joan had to write from Chicago to her mother, to a neighbour in Shearbrow in Blackburn, and also all correspondence was through this neighbour. But her father died of cancer about 3 years after she left, and on his deathbed, it's quite moving, really. He asked for the photographs of the babies that she had in Chicago, and as he was dying, he just held the photographs of the babies. So it was a kind of redemption right at the end. But the point being, Alan, that this was a very, very successful marriage. It really was. They're both dead now, but they both died well into old age, and she just threw herself into this new life. I think she must have been a very, very strong person to go at 20. But she came back in 75 for a brief visit, and by that time her mother was completely deaf, so it was very, very difficult. But one of the nice things, Alan, is that shortly before my aunt died, she sent me from Chicago all the letters that my grandma had written from Shearbrow to Chicago through the 50s, 60s, 70s, and I've got them here, and they're absolutely fascinating, all about Blackburn and how it changed and what grandma was doing. And at the post office was, I think it was called Soudal Cross, that she went to with all her letters. But Grandma was very brave, and Joan was very brave. But you know, it was 25 years before she saw her daughter again. So I just wanted to share with you that an elopement can be successful.
Well, we learned that the time you referred to, the lady that came on from the Ganwy. So, yeah, I mean, they can be successful.
That's right,
and,
but
you know,
I think my aunt must have been so brave. Can you imagine at 20, waiting in Liverpool for a boat? You know,
kind of, I mean, it's quite brave, but let's be honest, you know, at 20, there were people not too many years before her who were waiting for a boat so they go and fight a war. So
I know. I think you're absolutely right. I think she was kind of like a GI bride in a way, because it was a similar experience really to the GI brides. They didn't know what they were going to face, and I think a lot of them, you know, came back actually.
But when you see people who are running towards, in this case, Chicago, it sounds like it's very brave. But if you look back and see what they were running from, and that is a life of waiting on her parents' hand and foot.
I know.
It's not that brave to run away from that.
And her teenage years in Blackburn had been through the war with austerity. The austerity had really, really got her down as a teenager. And she got to Chicago, and of course, you can imagine what that was like. They'd had no austerity really there, and it was like a land flowing with milk and honey. You know, she was completely seduced by that life, I think. You know, I'm not criticising her, but because she literally threw herself into it. And she had 4 children very quickly. I don't think she really thought much about her past at all. I think she just threw herself into her new life. Yeah, but I just thought other people, when that lovely caller from Ganwy was speaking to you about the elopement, I just thought other people might, you know, give you some feedback about how successful an elopement can be.
Yeah, like every other marriage, they can be successful and they can fail.
Well, the strange thing is, Alan, that from these very inauspicious beginnings, it was by far the most successful marriage in our family. By far. It really, really was. It was incredibly successful.
Good.
You know, I just thought I'd just share that with you in case anybody else has experiences of elopements.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody's running away. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. If you wish to join us, we're here until 1 o'clock in the morning, and you will be more than welcome. How do David?
Hello, Alan. Well, that was an extraordinary story that we just heard. I don't know about you, but I was following every word. It was incredible.
Okay.
You're surprised, aren't you?
No.
Okay, yeah.
I'm
Well, let's
indifferent.
tell you
Go on.
about Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, obviously the question is, do you talk to them or do you just ignore them? And obviously, as I'm calling into your show fairly regularly, you can guess that whenever I see Jehovah's Witnesses, I will talk to them for as long as I possibly can. And the big subject for me is evolution, because I think that if you look at other species similar to humans, you can learn a lot about them, and there's a lot of similarities that are open to discover if you follow what primates are doing on a daily basis. Do you believe in evolution, Alan?
As opposed to what?
Well, some people say that evolution is not true at all, and that everything was created by God. But some people follow the scientific view that evolution was happening, you know, in the last few million years.
And why should one hold the view that they are exclusory?
Well, when you say evolution as opposed to what, I just understand that those are the two simplest options. I mean, do you think do you believe in evolution?
there seems to be a great deal of evidence that says that all the creatures on Earth at the moment are not identical to the creatures that were on the Earth, 800,000 years ago. So so something has brought about the change in those two. But
I know.
What it was, I've no idea.
Well, if you talk to a Jehovah's Witness, surprisingly, they don't have that much to say about it, considering how rigidly you'd have to believe in creationism as opposed to evolution. But I find it really helps when I show them the videos I have on my phone of chimpanzees, orangutans, various species, because as everybody knows, I go to the zoo at least once a week, and usually
everybody doesn't even know who you are. I can't imagine there are 5 people listening to this program now that know or care who the hell you are. So everyone knows that you go to the zoo every week is utter stupidity to say. But do go on.
I'm talking about my family. I'm just talking about the people.
Your family isn't everyone, just like you're not anyone.
I wasn't talking about the listeners. I mean, I'm just talking about people I know.
Like an idiot, like an idiot. I think the word "everyone" means every one.
I don't think you're an idiot, Alan.
No, well, I don't either. But I must be, because I don't understand the meaning of the word "everyone." Or perhaps it's you that doesn't.
I think you do. I think you probably understood what I meant. I think you're just...
No, I don't. I have no idea what you meant. I have this... David, one of the problems with talking... David? No, get off, you silly little boy. 0800 218 2255. But don't take everyone with you. Just take all your fellow cretins. If you would like to join us, you can. The telephone number is 0800 218 2255. How do Trevor?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
I'm feeling slightly wary of talking this evening. But anyway. All right.
I'm certainly wearing, but that's another story.
Well, I'm usually wearing, to be fair. And start by being wearing and offering you 2 quick cryptic crossword clues, if I may.
You may.
Thank you.
The futility of it knows no bounds, but you may.
Right. Get bird to put head down, 4 letters.
Get birds to put head down?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Duck.
Ducks are birds, I know, but nobody calls them birds.
Right, you've demolished that one.
Poultry.
Well, I don't know. Wild duck. Birds more than poultry. But anyway, moving swiftly on. Tell about being tardy, 6 letters.
Go on, tell me.
Relate.
Relate. I wrote down late. Couldn't do anything with it. I was looking at the wrong end. Not for the first time. Relate it is. Or marriage guidance, as it used to be called. Go on.
Oh, dear. Right, I will go on. I've been scanning the papers, as you may notice I sometimes do. I've got an interesting headline: the first hovercraft rescue of a sheep.
Bar none, presumably.
Bar none, yeah. You hear you only hear twice a week now, aren't you? So anyway, yes, witty as always, Alan. So somewhere you were for a little while, the Hoylake hovercraft, operated by RNLI, rescued a sheep after it was chased onto a tidal area of a beach and could not be coaxed back. It was chased by a dog into the tidal area. So they got the hovercraft out, picked up the farmer who'd alerted them and the farmer's sheepdog, and they were able to swiftly recover it. So I thought that was a nice story.
And give it a fortnight and be in the oven.
With some mint sauce, obviously.
Indeed. Quite possibly.
Secondly, a nice Guinness Book of Records story. A harpist from Limerick has beat her own previous record for high altitude harp playing by playing on the peak of Mount Kilimanjaro at 19,000 feet. It's quite a bit of a haul to get your harp up to the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, I should imagine.
Indeed.
But she managed it, and she raised some money from charity. So that's all good, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Don't know if you noticed, but Rishi Sunak's wife has topped the Tatler Best Dressed list for 2023, and I love the language of the style editor who was asked about this, and he said, "Mrs. Sunak is a shining example of modern day diplomatically decadent dressing that steals the show."
Right.
So now we know. I must admit, I did wonder if her husband might be in the line for some kind of special award for changing the whole way trousers are viewed in style terms. But anyway.
What, you mean halfway up the leg?
Indeed.
That's because he buys children's clothes so he doesn't have to pay VAT. And he's just a bit... No one's ever said this about him before, but he's just a bit too tall for them. So his pants are always at half-mast.
So it would seem. A final quick serious, or more serious point, if I may, Alan. I don't know if you and your listeners spotted that something called, I think, the Infrastructure and Project Authority has been looking at HS2 and has given it what they call a red rating, which means in their view it's unachievable, and that's relating to the first two phases that have started. So I mean they've already spent a lot of money and done a lot of preliminary work, but this authority, which is within government, takes the view it's unachievable because of budget, schedule, all kinds of factors, severe delays, soaring costs. So it just occurred to me that if the first two phases, as far as crew, are, in their view, unachievable, I wonder what the chances are of it ever getting to Manchester.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it? I mean, the trouble is, for the reasons you've just given, that the government has put so much political energy behind it and so much money behind it, it would take a very, very, very strong Prime Minister to say, we're dropping it.
Yes.
The only Prime Minister that could would be someone who has just taken office with an enormous majority.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen otherwise, because, I mean, they could have a referendum, but we all know what point they are.
They always go well.
Yeah, they don't. None of them have ever gone wrong. I mean, it's going to happen. No matter how white elephant-esque it is, it's got to happen. Not because it's needed. I'm not making that judgment. Just politically, I can't see anybody having the brass neck to say, "Nah, we got that wrong. Let's jack it in."
I agree with that, and as you say, I think the only circumstance that might happen would be, I guess, after the next general election. And as you say, also, it would need somebody with a large majority to take that decision, I think. So, for once, I think we're in some kind of agreement, which is probably unusual.
All right, I'll change my mind as you speak. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join me, pick up your phone, have your say. You can talk about absolutely anything. It's 20 to midnight. We're here till 1. How do Ian?
Hello, good evening, Alan. Thank you for having me on.
My pleasure.
Hello. This is quite topical because I think you were speaking to Trevor last Sunday about grey squirrels.
You may be correct. I do speak about them from time to time.
Okay. Trevor had the conversation with you about grey squirrels, and you said that somebody captured the grey squirrel and then released it back into the open, and you said that was wrong because it was a vermin. Is that right?
Yes, it's classed as vermin, is my understanding, and it is an offence to release vermin.
But okay, that's true. But can I just say to you that grey squirrels are not vermin?
Really? Right. When you say they're not vermin, what do you mean?
Because grey squirrels are simply red squirrels that have gone old.
Very good. Thank you for that. Right? I think. Well, it's too good to be wrong. Have a good night. Oh, I like it. Yes, grey squirrels. The bald ones are the worst. 0800 218 2255. But you do see the occasional squirrel wearing a wig. You know, because a little ginger wig, perhaps. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. I know, I'm sorry, it just tickled me. There's nothing to do about that. 0800 218 2255. Just feel free. I'll do Glenn.
Hello, are you alright?
I'm very well, thank you.
I was watching the BBC one this morning, and Putin was talking live on BBC One, and he was showing pictures of these Navy forces, these ships. And I think he said Russia again under 200 Navy ships. So what's all that about, Callie? If he increased his forces, Navy?
I've no idea.
He was talking live on his own one about our personality, and obviously he's not the same language. Some were interpreting what he said. But this war in Russia seems to be getting worse and worse, isn't it?
No.
And I heard it on the news that China's getting involved, and Iran's getting involved.
Well,
but you said to me,
neither of those countries are getting involved in terms of providing any kind of fighter.
There's that much going on with different reports. It's hard to know what's going on.
Well, it's always hard.
Like on my phone, I keep getting news and things like that. But like you said before, you don't think he'll use nuclear weapons, didn't you?
I did, and I still hold that view.
Like, can you see an end to this war on? I don't think Putin is going to sit down and talk, is it? Peace talk.
We don't know. Stranger things have happened.
So, like, what do you think? About 3 weeks ago on my phone, it says our Navy were ready to compute it. What's that?
Well, you have to be ready. It would be silly for our Navy to be on its jollies on the other side of the world when there's a war going on. So, yes, our Navy will be ready, our Army will be ready, our Air Force will be ready, but being ready doesn't mean they're going to fight. It means they're being ready in order to say to Russia, look, if you decide to come and get us, we're ready.
What is that? It's like his force is that strong, nobody seems to be able to take him on.
I'm sorry, Glenn, his force is not that strong that nobody can take him on. He invaded a country which he thought in a fortnight he would have overrun, and he hasn't. And 18 months later, he's still getting his arse kicked.
Yeah.
So his force isn't that superb. In fact, one of the things that seems to be going on is some of the Russian people and some of the Russian high-ups are saying, why is our army so weak? Why is our army getting a kicking off Ukraine?
Yeah. So, do you not know what's going to happen in the coming weeks, months, and years? Have you any idea?
I haven't the faintest idea.
So I hope everything's be okay, Alan. Okay, Dom.
All right, I hope everything is going to be okay. And yourself? How do, George?
Hello, Alan. I'd like to speak about 2 items, please, Alan, if you don't mind. It's the first one's about the Greek Air Force we're doing dropping water on the forests, trying to stop the trees burning down, and apparently one of the planes tipped a bloody tree with one of the wings and crashed, and I thought that pilot should get Victoria Cross for what he'd done. I thought he was a very brave man. He lost his life trying to save other people.
Well, you could say that. You could also say he wasn't that good a pilot. He hit a tree. But equally, he's not going to get the Victoria Cross because that's a British award. But yes, doing what they do is quite a courageous thing. I don't know whether it's the Air Force that does it. I think they have a specific firefighting service. But either way, yeah, 3 pilots so far have lost their lives doing it. It's a dangerous job.
Yeah, and the other things about, I bought one of these machines where you put your feet on and you massage your feet. You could go, I forget what they call them, Alan.
Foot massager.
Yeah, it cost me, I bought it, it cost me 60 quid, and it's supposed to make you pumps the blood in your legs and makes your legs a lot better. But I've been using it for a long time, for about 2 weeks now, and it's made my feet go worse.
Right.
So I've stopped doing it.
Right. I think it's a good idea. Did your doctor or your podiatrist or somebody else tell you to use it, or did you just see an advert and thought, I'll give that a go?
Well, somebody told me that they don't agree with anybody.
But the person that, I mean, has anybody with any quantifiable knowledge said to you, you need to get a foot massager, or did you just see an advert and think, oh, I'll give that a go?
Yeah.
What do you mean, yeah? It was an either. Never mind. It was an either-or question, which yes doesn't really serve. But no matter. How do Patrick?
Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
When Glenn came on before, it just sprung to memory. I was watching the Irish internet about news, what comes on, and it's not fake or crap or YouTube, it's for RT News. And when he said, what do you think is going to happen next? And you said, you've got no idea. Excuse me. Well, I had no idea, but all of a sudden, I started getting an idea. In Cork, in the port, a British battleship landed a few weeks ago. And a week ago, a Canadian battleship landed. So some journalist confronted them. And as one of the soldiers come off, it's a Navy man from Canada, this was last week, on the video footage, he told him to F off. Then he asked for the captain. Then the captain came down, which is obvious he can't give him any details because it's secret. So he said, why are you landing here? We've got nothing to do with NATO. This is Ireland. We don't agree with NATO. Why is here? There was a battleship here from Britain 2 weeks ago. We all know about the war in the Ukraine. So, using my initiative, I think that they're preparing, because it's been going on too long, I think they might be preparing to send battleships in. Possibly, that they'll go in, but they're trying to find a way to sneak in, and they might go, you could stop it in places like Ireland to work a route, where eventually I think it's just going to spark. It won't be a nuclear war, it'll be just like a big battle, ship for ship,
naval ships visit ports that are nothing to do with their country all the time.
Yep, I understand that, but this gentleman said no battleships ever have landed here before. Why all of a sudden have you started? Why have you come here? He couldn't answer him. He wasn't allowed. It's private.
A pilot, a captain of a ship in a navy is not allowed to say to journalists why they're there. That doesn't mean they're there for some. That doesn't mean they're there for some. That doesn't mean they're there for some dubious reason. They just don't answer. They just don't answer such questions ever, even if they're there on their jollies.
Yeah, that's correct. I understand all that. That's the military procedure, but
yet you still decide to interpret they are gathering together a force.
No, he did get through to him in the end. He said they've never landed here before. No battleships have landed here before. Why are you here? In the end, he got an explanation, but I got bored with it. So which
was. Oh, so he got an explanation. He didn't. The explanation wasn't, we're building a force to go and attack Russia.
I couldn't be bothered listening to.
Right. Well, I know how you feel. Good night. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Just pick up your phone, have your say. It's dead easy, as you've already learned from listening to what's gone on in the past couple of hours, because it's now 10 to midnight. You've learnt that every call is from, well, frankly, someone like you. By Jove, that were grand. Eh? Wasn't it? She does all right on the singing palaver, does her. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, that's good. Pick up your phone, have your say, talk about absolutely anything, and we really don't mind. Well, I don't know why we don't mind, we just don't. Okay. 0800 218 2255. I'll do Trevor.
Hi, Alan. I'd just like to say she is good, Adele. She goes to a course, isn't she, in English literature, I believe she said. She gets down. Yeah, she's got all students. That, the one out of Harry Potter's studying as well, isn't she? Gone to Oxford.
Well, that's narrowed it down. I don't know who you mean, the one out of Harry Potter.
What's she called?
I don't know.
Hermione. The one that plays Hermione, anyway.
I've never seen Harry Potter, so I've no idea.
Well, the thing is, Alan, I've just watched the Whitney Houston biopic. They're showing it on television now, so, and I thought she was a fantastic lady. I really liked her singing, but she went to bits when she started taking drugs, which is just a terrible thing to happen to someone with that much talent. But, yeah. So, it just seems to be that, it seems to be the curse of the entertainment industry in many ways, particularly in America. They don't seem to be able to, they set up companies, and the companies, well, certainly in her case, the company was being bled white by her father, and then, she was on drugs with Bobby Brown, and he got her drinking and whatever, and she ended up dead in the end. But I mean, it's
I guess everybody ends up dead in the end.
Oh, true. It's what we do while we're here, isn't it, Alan? It's the life we live while we're here.
That's generally how people see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, I wanted to tell you this yesterday, but I didn't forget. I couldn't remember because I was so I was reading for 2 hours about something called the non-identity principle, which is something in legal and philosophical terms, and it goes into the fact that if you kill animals, is it a bad thing to kill animals if you treat them good up to the time you kill them? So if a farmer treats it's a cattle well, or it's the period that it kills them, is he justified in doing so? And are we justified in using the product that he kills for food or for product? And this whole argument, I was reading it all, and it went further on and further on and further on, and then it got into the Holocaust, and it got into reparations and so forth for various communities. And it really tired me out, and I couldn't think what I was going to say, but really, it's something to do with the utilitarian argument, which is that everything works out for the best, isn't it? I think that's what the utilitarian argument is. And something called deontology, which was the second argument, which is like if something's bad, there's no balance of that. There's no balance of averages there. It's bad, and that's something called Elizabeth Harman was the lady that proffered that argument. It doesn't stand to be up in all. I'm not made the argument. I know, which according to the report I was reading, but it was an MIT report from them about the non-identity principle. Anyway, it was interesting. I should say, it's still blowing my mind now. And I was like, really, I don't know what you're like. Do you ever get into pieces of literature that you read, read a report or something like that? I don't know if you read reports. You must do, don't you, with your legal background? And
I haven't got a legal background.
Well, I mean, you've things you do with I presume with the big issue.
Well, that's not a legal entity.
Oh no, but you know the ins and outs of what people can do and what you can't do.
Not really, but no matter. Go on anyway.
Right. Well, the point is, if you ever read something, I get so absorbed in it, I can't process my thoughts for a couple of hours afterwards. Maybe I didn't take it all on board. So many like cookies, like little nuggets, jumped out at me, like the name of the man that Coates that did the actual first article in the Atlantic about reparations, and obviously, like I say, Elizabeth Harman's name and so forth. And these things stick in my mind, and but yeah. So you don't when you listen to Radio 4, doesn't it stick in your mind like little things? Because I mean, Danny Doronda's on at the moment on Radio 4 Extra, and I think the first chapter of Danny Doronda is fantastic. Where they're at the gambling hall, and she's there, and you mentioned her with her neck like a snake. They say she's got, and it's just little things like that stick in my mind. Oh, I'm not puzzled out, but I just. Well, Whitney Houston, yeah, it was a really interesting story, and great lady, great talent. But there you go.
Well, she went the way of many others in that business. It is a weird business, the entertainment business, in that the most successful people in it make an awful lot of money often, and yet that money, that wealth, and that fame takes them away from the society that they, if you like, appreciate to such an extent that they're able to interpret that society and perform their interpretation to the satisfaction and joy of a substantial chunk of that society.
Oh yeah,
but being famous is very, very difficult, I'm told.
Yes, it's losing their connections to where they came from, don't they? In many ways, they say. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they say.
Oh. There are some that don't, but most people end up living a rarefied life. Could you imagine just Elton John deciding, I want to go to Liverpool to do something, I'll just nip down to Euston and I'll get on the train? It's not going to happen.
No.
Because what would happen? He'd be in the carriage and he'd be absolutely surrounded by people.
Yeah, true. I mean, the way that... I've been watching that about incels with the reality star that's been on the television, and some of the actual viewpoints are really kind of, I know it's just like not celebrity as such, but it almost is the same thing with the internet. It's the kind of the pressure valve is just blown off at the moment. It's weird. Some of the thoughts these people have are just.
I used to know Les Dawson quite well, and Les, for a long while, was, he's very famous on television, but he also did stage shows. He went all around the country doing the theatres and the like, and his then wife, Meg, was disabled, so she didn't travel with him very often. So he would be on stage until 10 o'clock at night, 3 hours, telling jokes, the audience in his hand. They were his audience, they were laughing their heads off and all the rest of it. And the sort of intimacy between him and the audience and him was substantial, and they've all had a brilliant night, an absolutely brilliant night. And they get on the bus, or they get in the car, they get in the taxi, whatever, and they go home and chat about it with their friends all the way home and dine out on it for the next month or what have you. Les has got another one of these tomorrow night, so he goes back to his hotel and he goes to bed on his own, in his own room, and has a sleep, gets up, gets in his car, drives to the next theatre, does it all again. It's a very, very lonely life, a very hard life. And Les ended up as quite a drinker.
Oh wow,
because you've not only got to deal with the fact that you're not at home. You've got to deal with the fact that you're effectively alone when you've just had a fantastic evening. You've just had them in your thrall. You've just had a wonderful moment in your life, and you come off stage and you're buzzing and you're active and you're alive, and then suddenly somebody flicks the switch and it's over.
Yeah.
Bloody hard.
Yeah, well, I was going to talk that with Ken Dodd's thingy, but I will leave that story because that's a better story than my story. I'll let you.
I'm always interested in hearing stories about Ken Dodd's thingy. Have a good night. How do John?
If you could let that moron Patrick know, we don't have any battleships.
Who's we?
Neither does Canada. Right. There's only one battleship left in the world, and that's the USS Arizona, which is mothballed.
Right. Presumably he meant fighting ships, and I believe we still have one or two of those.
Well, maybe one or two destroyers, yes, but we don't have battleships.
Well, I know they're not called that anymore, are they? That was they are called that, but it was a particular kind of ship, a battleship. But I think he was using, I may be wrong, but I think he was using the term naval fighting ships and using the word battleship to cover.
He said battleship.
Well, I know he said battleships, but I don't think he was
I've not heard from him for a while, but every time I hear him, I cringe.
Well, fair enough. I thought you Celts all stuck together, but clearly not, John. But good to hear from you, mate. Thank you very much indeed. He's right, of course. Battleships are a specific kind of ship, and we have other things, aircraft carrier. I nearly said aircraft carriers, but I think we've only got one. And they have other kinds of ships, and quite a lot of which don't work, particularly the brand new ones, which is somewhat disturbing. But no, battleships are a particular kind of ship. Quick shufty at Monday morning, which is what it is now, Monday morning, because it's 6 minutes past midnight. You can join us, by the way. We're here till 1. 0800 218 2255. The front page of the Metro this morning says, Putin peace bombshell. Russia president hints at talks as Ukraine strikes back. Then a close ally threatens retaliation with nukes. So there you are. Putin doesn't, but a close ally does. The Independent front page, Zelensky war coming to Russia after drone strikes target Moscow. A chilling warning from Britain as the most senior A&E Britain's most senior A&E doctor. Tory plan to save the NHS this winter could kill thousands. Perhaps it would be better to say could allow thousands to die. I don't think the Tories are going out to kill them, as it were. Financial Times, Britain makes it cheaper to pollute by watering down the carbon market scheme. Who's surprised there? And Blackstone's Brit sells off property to finance a push for AI data centres. No, I didn't either. Don't worry, I just read them out. I don't have to understand them. The I. Most households struggling to pay for food and bills as another rate rise looms. Summer Brawler Days. Daily Star. Summer Brawley Days. Very good. Yes. 5 deluges on the way. Define deluge. Quite a lot of rain. The Daily Express, end this farce. 3 hours on hold for the tax office. So you ring the tax office, you're sat at the end of a phone for 3 hours, and apparently Prince William has been serving up burgers, and that doesn't mean going and talking to his ancient relatives in Germany. That was an awful joke. It didn't even work, but it was worth a try. Daily Mirror, don't let my son's death be for nothing. Dad reveals family's nightmare as he backs the Mirror campaign for a law change. Scrapping the tourist tax would give us a £10 billion boost, according to the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail against a tax. Fancy that. The Sun's front page, PM vows to end anti-car moves. Fed up drivers want more change. I don't know what they mean by that. Do they mean when they go to the petrol station and they get 10 gallon of petrol, they want more change? Or do they? I don't know. Now get a move on, Rishi, they say. And how Eric Ten Hag saved my career. That's from Rashford, who's a footballer, if you're wondering, because I was. The Guardian, ministers seek curbs on 20 mile per hour limits in a push to woo motorists. And the Grenfell Tower cost nears 1.2 billion. 1.2 billion, and still, of course, the matters are not resolved. And the Daily Telegraph, 50,000 extra families to get to face IHT, which is the tax threshold, and Sunak to warn that Labour oil plan will force up energy bills. The Times, fire risks could turn migrants' barge into a floating Grenfell. That's worrying. Graduates earn more if their parents don't have degrees. Prime Minister gives a green light for more North Sea drilling. And there's a picture of Tom Daley, who says he's going to have another crack at the Olympics, which would be interesting, wouldn't it, really? He said, I'm not hanging up my trunks yet. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, feel free. And in keeping with the headline from one of the newspapers' front pages that I just read, there's been an awful lot of rain, and we're due now for 5... I don't know what that was, but don't ask me. We're due for 5 deluges. You could say that'll mean there ain't no sunshine. But you can have sunshine and a deluge, can't you? Anyway, here's Bill Withers. There's been this trouble recently about the chap who was in jail for an awful long time for a crime he didn't commit. And then we learned, not for the first time actually, but we were reminded in many cases, learned in some cases, that when a person gets compensation for being in prison for a crime they didn't commit, the state reserves the right to then charge. It's so stupid that it's funny, except it isn't. It's horrendous. But the state reserves the right to then charge them for, well, basically for providing them with digs against their will, but providing them with digs for 17 years in his case. And everybody, what? And then we have this situation. I came to the BBC 38 years ago, a very, very long time ago. And the MP for, I think it was the MP for Wythenshawe, Alf Morris MP, came into the studio not long after I'd got here and talked about, in his particular way, Alf Morris was a very slow speaker. And it was very difficult as a radio presenter trying to chivvy Alf along. He's a good bloke, I'm not criticising him, he's a cracking bloke, but he's one of those people, if you asked him a question, he would plan his answer in his head before he replied. You get the point I'm making. So that's just one of the things I remember about Alf, Mr. Morris MP. But the other thing I remember is that he came in at that time to talk about the fact that haemophiliacs, people who have a blood disease, a difficulty with clotting, had been given something called factor 8. And this factor 8 is the thing in the blood that allows and assists the blood in clotting. And they'd been given this factor 8, which instead of being gathered, if you like, from blood donors in this country, because there were too few of them. It was bought on the open market from America. And in America, rather like here, if you donate a pint of blood, and people, I invite you, should. It's not compulsory, but if you do, that's great, because you never know when you might want it back. But if you donate a pound of blood, you get a cup of tea and a biscuit. In the States, and other countries as well, but in the States, you get paid for it. And it became known that quite a lot of drug addicts were selling their blood to get money to go and buy more drugs. And of course, the cleanliness of the blood of a drug addict, an injecting blood addict, is not good. And so quite a lot of people who received factor VIII got HIV infections. And you and I both know that that's not good. Indeed, for many, it's a death sentence. And Alf Morris was, I think, the first to start a campaign to get the government to compensate people who've had their life turned upside down and in many cases shortened by this government decision. And he, for the rest of his life, campaigned for it. Now, bear in mind, that was 30-odd years ago. And the government has slowly but surely come round to thinking, yes, we are culpable, and slowly but surely coming round to thinking we really ought to compensate people. They've not actually done it yet. 37 years later, they've not done it yet, and people are still dying from this condition that they contracted as a result of a government decision, and the government is still waffling and dodging and doing all sorts of other damn things. There's a story in one of the papers today saying it's going to cost an awful lot of money. Well, yes, it is. But get on with it, for God's sake. And then we turn to the post office and the lying dogs that have run that for years. They still not compensated the people whose lives they ruined by trying to pass the blame for their crap computer system onto their staff, for want of a better term. I mean, it's just ludicrous. They should give them £1 million each now. So there you are, there's £1 million. Get on with your life. We'll sort out whether you need more later, but there's £1 million. Get on. Rather than let the tortoise system that they're currently hiding behind sort out the exact figure at its creepy, crawly leisure. It might even turn out to be cheaper. Consecutive governments should be ashamed of the way they've stood back and watched again, like they did with the blood, like they've done with every other damn thing. Make a decision. Make it quick. Pay their bill. People died in penury with no need to. Couldn't help dying. Well, they could have given them a better life before they did. But no, the skunks in government did nothing. And I still have done nothing other than yap, 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 which is not worth a carrot. 0800 218 2255. Wish to join us? Pick up your phone. Have your say. I'll do Elliot.
How do, Alan? Thought I'd call up about something a bit more light-hearted tonight.
Okay.
Usually call about things that are quite deep, for want of a better word. Windows. Not Bill Gates windows on your computer, but the glass ones in the side of your house. There's a street, or there's a few streets not far from where I used to live, where I used to walk past it, just terrace streets, just ordinary streets. And there was a few houses that still, these were like 1920s houses, and they still had the original stained glass windows in the house. And it used to brighten my day up every day because they're so ornate and intricate, and they just stood out like a sore thumb from the rest of the street with all the UPVC windows in. And it just got me thinking how much of a loss it's been since everyone's gone in for the white plain windows. We've lost all this ornate art that was a free public thing. On nearly every street in the country had them not 25 years ago. And they seem to have just disappeared overnight without much of a raise of an eyebrow. And then it got me thinking, why are the modern windows so bloody boring?
Well, because they wanted to do something that's very efficient, and the old windows weren't. But you said stained glass windows. I've lived in a few old houses, and my both my maternal and paternal grandparents lived in terraced houses, and none of them had stained glass windows.
I don't mean like the church type where every pane of glass is a different colour, but it might have like flourishes of, particularly the Art Deco houses, the 20s and 30s houses, interwall houses, might have something above the top sash, like a repetitive pattern.
Yeah, I know what you mean now,
on the door.
Those would, yeah.
You just see them everywhere, and it just makes the street look a lot brighter, and I just this made me think how boring the PVC ones are for all their efficiencies. I think we've lost a period of art, what's the word for it? Cottage industry art, or whatever you want to call it.
It's a nice term for it. I don't know whether it's the accurate term, but it's a nice term for it. And yes, we've lost a little bit of colour from our lives. I know a bloke that's got a stained glass window in his garage.
Yeah. Well, it tends to be the outbuildings and the stuff at the back that gets sort of wavered, if you like, from the stuff that's sort of like sticks around. But it's just a nice. One of those, it's all the little things in life, innit, that cheer people up, and it'd be nice for someone somewhere to come up with a modern version of the equivalent of something.
There's nothing stopping it, nothing at all stopping it.
I think the sophistication of it, because it required so many individual panes of glass. Would they be able to make them en masse anymore at that price?
They couldn't make them en masse then. They were made by individual craftsmen, and they would still be made by individual craftsmen, but individual craftsmen want more than a pint of beer and a carrot for their week's work.
I think it's that thing that Fred Dimney used to know as well. He always used to comment on the sort of like the industrialised art, for want of a better word. He always used to comment on, like the sort of the Art Nouveau flourishes of brickwork in industrial factories. It wasn't just about the engineering side of it. It was also the way that like the Victorians used to spend a lot of time and effort into looking out into how things actually looked. They weren't just totally utilitarian.
Yeah, but it was a follow-on. I should wake my wife up and get her to come and explain this, because she's an expert on it. But that was a follow-on from the situation where the landed gentry, who until the Industrial Revolution had all the money, used to build their big stately homes and all the rest of it, and spend what would today be tens of millions of pounds having these things built. And then the industrialists came along in the, what would it be, I suppose...
late 18th century or something.
Yeah, maybe a little earlier than that, but they came along and they got wealthy very quickly, and they wanted to demonstrate their wealth. So when they built properties, whether they were factories or whether they were their homes, they built them as a statement, here is my wealth. And so they too put money into it, and they're the people, to be fair to them, who started quite a lot of the charities, the ragged schools as they were called, and all that. They were spending.
Quite charitable people.
Well, let's not go over the top
for the workers.
But they used their wealth often.
You don't hear of many factory owners these days building houses for their workers.
Well, no, they don't. But that's it. But of course. And in those days, if you wanted 200 workers for your factory, they had to come from the countryside. You didn't get them from another town. Towns only existed as market towns and the like. So you built houses so that they could come. And people talk about the slums and all the rest of it. But if you look at the lives that the people who were living in those slums had when they were living in the countryside, their properties weren't any better. They were not as far close together and crammed, but it wasn't the ghastly change that people talk about, because of course we say, oh God, they live like that. Well, yes, they did, but everybody did, apart from the very rich. That was the norm, So anyway, and so now, of course, when a factory is built, that is not somebody's private money.
No,
it's actually
you don't get any of the sort of respect for where it is as well. I mean, when you see these warehouses going up on the sides of motorways that are just square boxes, the money, as you say, could well be American money or German money or Italian
But also
money.
it needs to be a square box because you want...
It's efficient square boxes, aren't they?
The buyer wants to be able to walk in and say, I'm going to put that there, I'm going to put that there, that'll go there, that'll go there, that'll all fit nicely. There it is. I've got a square plan on my desk, it'll fit into that square space over there. Whereas if you went in like when you buy an old house, and I've been there and suffered it, when you buy an old house, you think, I think I'll buy a bigger settee, and then you think, how am I going to get it in?
Yeah.
When I get it in, where will it go? If I put it there, it blocks the radiator. If I put it there, it blocks the window. Because the houses were smaller. So it's all that sort of stuff.
It's all cookie cutter as well, isn't it? It's all sort of like they don't necessarily think about the surroundings of the town where it's going. So they'll, like, let's take Amazon. I won't mention names, but the big conglomerate companies that put warehouses up. They've got no obligation to think about, what the people of this town might think when they build just a square box on a piece of greenbelt land. Maybe if they put some more effort into how it might integrate with the rest of the town, they might have a bit more, consolation for the people.
Well, yes, but that would come off the bottom line, and life's all about the bottom line now. Elon Musk didn't become the wealthiest person in the world by building factories with nice windows and wonderful brick patterns. It just didn't happen.
Well, he might be remembered more if he did. Might be seen in a scene in a warmer light if he did.
I don't know. Perhaps
quite a cold man, Elon Musk.
I've never met him, so I can't say. But perhaps he's happy to be remembered as the most wealthy man on the planet for a time, and maybe he'll be the first civilian to put a man on the moon. Who knows? So he's making his name one way or another. And then there's Facebook. Twitter it is he has, isn't it? Then there's Twitter that's now called X, which I seem to remember was the brand of
He's made a dog's dinner of, I believe.
I think it was a dog's dinner when he took it over.
Yeah.
But he's now calling it X, whereas I remember the adverts for Little X, but then I was 12 when they were on, and it was a lady in her underwear. Have a good night. Cheers. 800 218 2255. Do you remember the adverts for the Little X girdle? Yeah, it doesn't have the same effect as it did when I was 12. How do Sean?
Hello, Alan.
Hello, Sean.
Hello. Can I talk to you about the police?
Yes.
Tonight. So ages ago, I got in trouble with the police because I spit at somebody by accident, and I didn't mean to, and they only had a chat with me. They didn't arrest me at the time.
Right.
And they let me off with a warning. Then I got in trouble with them again, and then I got arrested because I was naughty again.
Right.
And then last night, there's police around my area because someone's on a big party.
Okay.
And somebody called the police because somebody had music on and it was too loud, so disturbance.
Okay, you keep stopping it just as well if you carry on, really. Go on.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And do you think the police do a good job when it comes to crime?
I think the police, like every other industry and every other occupation, some are good, some are bad, some are in the middle. The most are in the middle.
Yeah, but the police can't always get there. Like, if someone's getting stabbed on the street, the police can't always be there, can they, to protect them?
Well, no, they can't always be there to protect them, and they can't always find the perpetrator. That's the nature of crime, really. It's not done in a way as to make sure everybody gets found out.
Yeah, but there's a lot of crimes with Winshaw and Manchester, a lot of gangs.
Mm-hmm.
They use drugs and alcohol and like bully young people and like give young people drugs and bully disabled people, and it's horrible.
Right. Right.
And people make false calls to the police, and it's dangerous, though, isn't it?
I don't know how dangerous a hoax call to the police is, but it's certainly very much a time-wasting exercise.
All right. Well, because I'm 18 years old, do you reckon I could get arrested if I did stab someone?
Well, if you stabbed someone and you were found out that it was you that did that stabbing, there's no question as to could you would be arrested, and rightly so. Have a good night, Sean. Interesting that stabbing somebody is on your list of things that might happen in your future. It's going to be hard for you if you are stood there with a knife in your hand and somebody's bleeding and you say, I never intended to, and they say, well, we heard you on the Allan Beswick programme saying that you might. Still, never mind, sure life. 0800 218 2255 to join us. It's just after midnight. We're here until 1 o'clock in the morning, which is the next 29 minutes. And frankly, you can talk about whatever you wish. Wow. Here's Kate Buck. She's very squeaky. She's very good, but squeaky, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's the world, isn't it? Of course it is. 0800 218 2255 to join us. We're here until 1 o'clock, and there's a little while to go yet, so there's time if you fancy it. How do Tommy?
Hello, Alan. All right, mate.
Oh, very well, thank you.
Go what, man? Sorry.
I said I'm very well, thank you, in answer to your query.
Oh, magic, mate. See, you've been going all these years. That's brilliant. I'd like to talk to you off-air about different things, but say I have panic attacks, and that's why I wish when I'm talking you see me. But I'd just like to say, Alan, about the Women's World Cup, and not just the Women's World Cup. It's that, it seems to be all over your face and all that. You know, not many people are interested in it, and it's women's this. Now, when they put adverts on the telly, years ago, go on, we say the World Cup finals are on. They just say it's the World Cup finals. Now they have to say the men's World Cup finals, the women's World Cup finals. Why is this? It's all come to me because something happened to me 20 years ago now. I got stabbed 8 times in my head, and I'm just coming out of an 18-year coma. And I'm trying to think all the way the world's changed. I don't know what Apple is, an app, whatever that is, mate. All kinds of weird stuff's happening to me, and I have carers coming around to me, and they're trying to explain to me, and I'm going on again, aren't I? Sorry, mate. But, no, man, I studied it years ago, but I just like to know all these kind of stuff, what's happening to me now. You know, it's all like, imagine just being born, Alan, right, into this world now, but you're 30 years of age, now 50, right, and you find what has happened here, mate. Nothing about diseases, nothing about eBay, YouTube, Apple. What's an apple? What's an apple? Well, when I was alive, my last life, an apple was an apple, something you bite, and they're coming up with all these weird words and all that. I'm lost, mate. I don't know what to do. And anything, a Women's World Cup and all that, why is it all promoted when you look around, there's nobody interested, but it's all over the telly.
Well, the fact is that there are many, many people interested in women's football.
Well, mate, not as far as I know. Like I said, I'm coming out of this coma, the 18-year coma, and women's football. Oh, yeah, it's on the telly, it's on the telly. But
well,
I don't.
It's not. They don't put things on the telly thinking, let's put this on, no one will watch it. They put things on the telly saying, let's put this on, loads of people are watching. It turns out loads of people do.
No, they think like they're trying to make people watch it or something, because.
How are they making you to watch it? When do the what are you watching on the telly police come round?
We're putting it on because what I have realised now, coming out of this coma and that, it's like the prices of football matches, it's gone weird. My God. People have asked me, to still go to match. I put Everton everywhere, mate. But They're asking me, can you afford to get into the ground these days, right? What is that? I'm lost, mate.
Well, I mean, you are probably right in that football entrance fees are very, very high, but they do seem to manage to fill the grounds up and down the land.
Yeah, well, who are these people that they're like old middle class? Because where I'm from, on an housing estate right outside Goodison Park, every one of us, we come out to school. You know what? At school, right? They send us tickets with the best behaved lads and all that. The teacher comes to the match with us on a Saturday just to get supporters in. And now, I don't know what's happening. On this housing estate where I live, there's no kids go to match anymore. They can't afford to get up to Goodison Park, which is what? You can kick a ball from my house to Goodison Park. And who are these who are coming to Goodison Park? They're parking the cars in my car park. Big Jags and everything. You know what? Who are these? We're getting lost here, mate. The middle class are taking over the working class game. And, I'm lost. Hey, I've been dead for 18 years, you can more or less say, mate. I'm really lost. And like, I want to go back to sleep. That's why I want to go back to sleep in, because every time I wake up, I go out into the world, right? Go to the pub. There's no pubs open. What's going on? My mate has to come with me. Look at this. I'm not daft, mate. I haven't gone mad. I just imagine yourself on, bang, going to sleep for 18 years, yeah? I'm waking up. What's that? There's a McDonald's on County Road. I didn't know that existed, you know. What is this? That was the Salvation Army building not long ago. When I went to sleep last night, that was the Solly Army. I'm waking up to saying there's McDonald's. What's happening? I'm lost, mate. I have people coming out.
After 17 years, it's to be expected, although quite a shock to your system, it's to be expected that things won't be exactly the same as they were 17 years ago.
18, mate. 18.
My apologies, 18 then.
No, I don't have to apologise, mate. I'm just need somebody to talk to, you know.
Okay.
That's shit, mate. Crazy stuff, man. But I'm just saying, like, women's football, what's going on?
Women's football is now very, very popular. Still not got as many fans as men's football, but one of the reasons might be because people can no longer afford to go to Premiership football in the men's teams, but it's cheaper to go and watch women, and people do, and it's quite good football. I personally don't like football, but I do sometimes watch a women's football match because it's more interesting to me in that they're not all... Well, first of all, they're not all lying on the floor crybabying like half of these £50,000 a week blokes.
Oh, yeah, man. That's the one I'm on about, yeah. Where it's like football. For the club, it's men's football, you know, for the sake of the club, but you just hit the nail on the head, and like, I diagnosed a thing with me memory, fluctuating memory. But what you just said then was right, although I can't remember exactly what you said, but women's football, yeah. That is to get people in, you know. So watch women's football, yeah, it's cheaper and cheaper. That's just what's the game of football. But who are the people coming to, I think my memory's working out, it might be. Who are the people coming to watch men's football? Well, wow, yeah. It's going to all hit me in one time. Why did you have to explain here? Oh, the men's World Cup, the women's World Cup. Why do you have to mention women all the time now?
Well, if there are if there are two different competitions, one exclusively men and the other exclusively female, you can't just say the World Cup, because people will say which one, the men's or the women's. So they say the women's or the men's. That is how it is.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I've been dead for 18 years. No, what I'm saying is, like, you know, you don't have to explain, the World Cup final. You don't have to, the men's World Cup final. You obviously know it's the World Cup final, you know. Tommy,
No, you don't. The world's changed since your coma began.
No, that's what I'm thinking.
And the reason they say either the men's or the women's World Cup is so that people know which one they're talking about.
Yeah, and I've also heard another thing like women's tennis. You know, you can't call these girls Miss anymore. You know why? Well, because of medical status or something. What?
Because what? I don't know what you said. Then it doesn't matter.
It says, what is it? Oh, the marital status, it says. You can't say Miss Navratilova, nothing like. You can't say Miss anymore.
Well, why should you? When you refer, when they say Mr. John McEnroe,
yeah,
they don't. That doesn't tell you. That doesn't tell you whether the chap is married or not. But with women, their moniker does. They say Mrs., Ms. or whatever. So now women are saying, why should we be identified by our marriage or not when men aren't? You never hear anybody say Master John McEnroe because he's not married. So the men don't get the men don't get maritally identified by their moniker. Why should the women?
But I'm thinking like, there's nobody in over 100 years ever complained. There's not one woman. Just
because something's been going on for 100 years doesn't mean it's right. Women are fed up of being defined by their relationship or not to men. And I don't blame them. I'd be livid if I was a woman.
But my girlfriend never complained. She moaned about that. What? I never complained. You know, Miss.
Well, I'm sure you don't, but quite a lot of women do, Tommy. Tommy, I'm going to go now. I'll do David.
Oh, Mr. Beswick, can I pick your brains a little bit, please?
Try.
Thank you. I recently went for a face-to-face interview. You offered me a telephone interview for a PIP. Personal independence statement. Yes. I've applied for it twice before. Because 14 years ago, I suffered a seizure of some description, which I never got to the... They never actually worked out exactly what had happened. But I had a brain scan, and it was proven that part of my brain has died, and that part controls that side of my body, my balance and my short-term memory, and makes me susceptible to early Alzheimer's. Right, so I've applied for a PIP twice. I've got points on both occasions, but not enough to qualify. Now, 3 weeks ago, I went for a face-to-face. They wanted a phone, but I'm not good at that sort of thing, so I insisted on a face-to-face. So I went to a building in Preston. You probably know it, Marshall House. I went there and I had a face-to-face, and I was very precise with the answers, and if I weren't sure of the question, I asked, can you be more specific of what I'm answering, please? And one of the questions was, am I capable of walking 200 metres? I said, well, no, I'm not. Not in one go. I can, at the furthest ever walk is at 150 metres, but there's 2 benches in between, and I stop on each one. And I got results back on Friday. And what really got me is I was very specific about this particular point. And I said, no, I cannot do that, which I can't. And on the rest was
David, there's a problem here, and this is what the problem is. You answered the question, which in the end, your answer means yes.
No, it doesn't. Because
yes, it does. And the evidence is that that's what they decided. They said, can I walk 150 yards?
No, 200 metres.
Whatever, the distance. And they said, can you walk a specific distance? And your answer wasn't no. Your answer was yes, but. But it wasn't no.
My answer was not yes. The answer was not yes. My answer was, the furthest I ever walk is approximately 150 metres, and I stop on 2 occasions. Now, on the form which I've got back...
But the problem there is that If you say, I walk this distance, but I stop on 2 occasions, you're saying I walk this distance.
No, I did not. Dave said...
Well, David, you're right, I'm wrong, the benefits people are wrong, we're all wrong, you're right. Are you getting the money?
Down. Now, what I'm asking you is, I specifically said, I cannot walk 200 metres, and Dave said that, the man has said that I can. Now, I'm going to appeal this tomorrow, because I'm assuming this was recorded. And I said, no, I cannot walk 200. I specifically said 50 metres at a time, 150 metres maximum. And somehow, it's come back.
David,
I can walk...
Why didn't you just say no?
I did say no.
No. Listen to my question. Listen to me. Listen to the question. I'm asking you now. This specific question. Why did you not just say no?
I did say no.
No. Listen, you're missing a word out. Just. Why did you not just say no?
Well, I did say
You didn't. No, listen to the question. Why did you not just say no? What you said was, no, but...
I said, no, I walk 150 metres maximum. Now, on this report they've sent back to me, they say I can do 200 metres. And I told them that I cannot.
Well, David, when you're dealing with authority, every word you use, they will use against you.
Yes, I understand that.
So when you're asked questions, answer in the shortest possible way. If they say, can you walk 200 metres? The answer isn't 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 words. The answer is...
no.
No, listen to me, please. You're convinced you're right, and yet you're not getting the money. I'm trying to help you. And I'm saying to you, when you're asked a question by authority, answer that question and nothing else. The answer to the... Listen to me. If you don't listen, I don't know why you rang. The answer to the question, can you walk 200 metres is no.
That was the answer I gave.
No, it isn't. You said no, and then gave them some more... No. Listen to me.
Go on.
You said no, and then gave them some more words. The some more words changed no. It shouldn't have done. You think it didn't do. But they think it did. When you're asked a question by authorities, answer in the shortest possible way. Do not say anything other than the answer. And the answer is yes or no. Can you walk 200 metres? The answer is no. Not no and, because you think you've said no, but you didn't stop. And if you don't stop at no, you must be moving towards yes.
Right, you're absolutely right in what you just said. I know. Where I've gone wrong, right? Now, the thing is, tomorrow, I'm going to appeal against this because am I entitled? I think I am, but I'm not sure. You're the man to ask. I want a transcript, of, a copy of the paperwork submitted by the man that I had face-to-face with that went to the adjudicators who have come up with the answer, I can walk 200 metres. I cannot. And I actually said, no. And he said, well, how far is the furthest you walk? So I told him. And he actually asked me another question, how long can you stand? He said, can you stand up for an hour, non-stop? I said, if you put a gun to my head, I probably could. That's what I said. That was my answer.
So if I was sat where he's sitting, and you said, if you put a gun to my head, I probably could, the answer's yes.
Yeah, I've begging up here, brother. Because I've been taught to the honour.
Well, the answer to the question, the honest answer to the question is, can you stand up for an hour? No.
Yeah.
If you give what they'll say is a different answer to no, then it's yes.
Thank you for that, Mr. Beswick. So I say tomorrow, I'm going to ask them for a copy. And I'm going to question them.
Well, I'm not sure it works that you're going to question them. The appeal is to look again at what you've said and the interpretation of what you've said, whether it is accurate, and if it is inaccurate, what the accuracy would be, and would that accuracy entitle you to the benefit. So there's going to be more them asking you questions than you asking them. So bear in mind that if you can answer it in one word, do so.
Thank you very much for that.
If they say to you, how tall are you? Say 5'8".
Oh God, I wish.
Well, I know that feeling as well. But what I'm saying is that's the only time you should ever use two words, if only two words can answer. So if they say, you said you could walk 200 yards, you say, no, I didn't. Read the first answer. The first word is no.
Well, that was.
I'm telling you to point that out to them.
Yeah, that's why I say I'm going to ask them for a copy.
And you may be entitled to it, you may not, I don't know. But when they say on the form the interviewers put yes, you say, I didn't say yes, I said no.
Mm-hmm.
Now if you start going into what I did say was blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
that's yes again. So I didn't say yes, I said no.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right. So every question they ask, think about the answer and get it down to one word if you can. Good luck. I'll do Sean.
Hello?
Hello, Sean.
How are you, Alan?
Awfully well, thank you.
Yeah, I'm a long-time listener, but I've already called once before.
Okay, well, we've not a lot of time, Sean, so I'm going to rush you. What do you want to talk about?
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's people who go up in maybe poor areas and then make something of myself and then take the wedding out of the area. And then the businesses and everyone else loses on that money. And everyone who in that area who go with them also has to struggle making the effort to get to where them people are. So it's not more of a complaint. I don't blame people for wanting to better themselves and go somewhere better. But I just think like maybe I don't know should stick around in the area they go up in and maybe just give it there because like everyone's got a chance to go to the wedding.
Well, all of that is true, but if that was true, I'd still be living in a council house in Neville Avenue in Warrington, and I choose not to do that.
Yeah, but I understand that. So that's moving on, which I understand. Like, but when you get married and you grew up in that area, so you're still living in that area, and all your friends are in that area, then you choose, like, let's say, go somewhere like Cheshire or somewhere way out of the area, so people then have to carry on to get there, and then whatever else, and then they've got to come back. I just feel like you should have stayed where you were. To be honest,
what's the point of striving to improve your fiscal lot if all you're going to do is stay where you are in your council house in Warrington? In my case, what would be the point?
Yeah, no. I'm not talking about the council house. You can move, that's what I'm saying. The thing is, you can move on from that. I'm saying put that on the market and sell that. But let's just say, before you sell that, until you move on, you can have one match celebration.
Whoa! You can't sell your council house. You can buy it and then sell it.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's what I mean. Let's say your council house already bought, and then. So, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's say that you've done a lot more better.
This is Adam Porter. The Prime Minister is today expected to announce millions of pounds of funding for a carbon capture and storage project in Aberdeenshire. The Acorn project would see carbon dioxide emissions piped under the North Sea and stored in depleted gas reservoirs. Thousands of new jobs could be created. Our climate editor, Justin Rowlatt, says there are mixed views on whether such projects are the answer to tackling climate change.
Government advisors say this technology is vital to meet net zero climate targets. But some environmentalists say carbon capture and storage is a dangerous distraction that could give polluters license to carry on polluting.
At least 44 people have been killed in a suicide bombing at a political rally in northwestern Pakistan. More than 100 people were wounded in the attack on an event organised by the Islamist party JUIF. New rules designed to improve standards for customers buying financial products such as home loans or insurance come into effect today. The Financial Conduct Authority says the guidelines will require firms to ensure consumers are treated fairly. A petition which could lead to a by-election in the constituency of Rutherglen and Hamilton West in South Lanarkshire closes this evening. It was triggered when the current MP, Margaret Ferrier, was suspended by Parliament for breaching COVID restrictions. She won the seat for the SNP, but now sits as an independent. Craig McMurran reports.
Back in June, MPs voted to suspend Margaret Ferrier from the Commons